Guys, welcome to a little impromptu video about a Maxima. I'm trying something different, but I looked and didn't see anyone doing any information on this particular job, so I thought I would do something on it. Let me show you what's going on. This is a 2009 Nissan Maxima, and what I'm doing here is we're going to be replacing the VVT solenoids on both heads, and I'm just going to run you through this for anyone who would like to know. This doesn't apply to my usual W body crowd, but still an interesting job, so I'm going to show you what's going on. The first thing I did do to start was remove this coolant overflow jug, which basically sits in here, and there's just a single bolt that holds that on. Then the next thing I'm going to be doing is taking this mount completely out of the way by taking these three bolts on the front out, and then there's a bolt here, here, and then one in the back that you may not be able to see very well. So that's going to be step 2. Okay, so I took the mount out like this with the bottom bracket attached. To get to most of these bolts, this is what I used, the 1/2-inch drive impact with a long extension, and this is an 18mm swivel socket, which is pretty good at getting to some of the weird angles these bolts are at. From this angle you can see here's one of the solenoids, the other one is tucked back there, still pretty out of the way. We'll get to it in a minute. I'm going to be doing this first one in just a second. Okay, next you go right behind here. You can pop this little bracket back and pick this whole reservoir up. Which will make it loose. Then you can go down here, pull this hose out of its spot, just to get a little extra space down there. Okay, so then what I did was unbolted and removed the right-hand cam cover. This is what that looks like. I'm being very careful not to move anything, but if you look, it sits in the car basically like this, so you can see all the bolt holes. Do not forget this bolt. That's an easy one to miss. So you unbolt it all the way around, and then it just pulls off. Make sure not to move anything, make sure not to tear any gaskets. And once this is out, the solenoid's really easy to remove. It just pulls right out the end like that. This is the replacement part made by Dorman. That's the part number. And that just, you want to basically take a little bit of oil and lube this O-ring, and then it just slides right back in and you just bolt it back in. I also removed this bracket that holds the power steering hose. It was just held on by the one nut. Okay, and then in what is most assuredly my least favorite version or part of this job, I can take this little stubby wrench back here and barely get to the bolt that holds the rear solenoid on, just enough to turn it. So, I mean, it kind of sucks, but it works. And then, once you've got the bolt out, if you push the connector in, it pops this little piece of this out, which you can then get a screwdriver behind and use that to push the solenoid down. That's just one of the easier ways that I've found to pop these style out sometimes. If not, you just wiggle it. Eventually it'll come out though. Here's a quick little insight to the world of working on cars professionally. I've seen all these videos about why mechanics cuss. I'm going to show you exactly why mechanics cuss. And I'm showing you some of this because this is my first time doing this particular job on this particular engine. So this is pretty much how the figuring it out process works, especially when ALLDATA doesn't want to give you a procedure. I was taking this out, and there's a little metal bracket under it that blocks it from coming the rest of the way out. No big deal, I'm just going to take the bracket out. But those bolts are really hard to get to. And I had a 1/4-inch drive ratchet in there to where I could get them loose so I can get it out of the way, and dropped it. And it disintegrated. did not hit the bottom, disappeared halfway down. I can tell you honestly, at this point, I've made up new cuss words in my head. But we soldier on. And success. Final count of things that have to be removed in order to get that out is, if you look down there, there are 2 bolts that hold a little metal bracket above the belt. That has to be removed and swung out of the way. Then there is a timing cover bolt directly below the solenoid. You have to take that bolt out too. And with those out of the way, it just pulls right out like the other one. Here are the Dorman part numbers for both actuators, one for each head. Okay, so reinstallation was the reverse of taking it out. You're also going to need to clean some oil up, which I already did, but there's the new solenoid in the back. So that's the rear finished. Now, since I did take this off, I'm replacing this gasket, which we got from Nissan. This is the part number if anyone needs it. And basically the best way to do this after you clean this surface off, since there are alignment dowels on the head, your best bet is to align it and put it on here first, then put the other piece back. Just like that. And it'll pretty much stay in place as long as you don't bump it wrong while you put the other piece in. I was able to find a sequence for how the bolts in this cover are supposed to go back. There's that bolted back in. Don't forget to plug back in the solenoid on the bottom. Also changing the oil on this one while it's in. The customer requested that service, but it's a good idea when you're doing this anyway. Okay, so after putting the plastics back, checking it for leaks, what else did I do? Test driving it and resetting the check engine light. Everything looks like it's okay now. So I'm gonna leave this one at this because, as you can see, I'm already on to the next one. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace!